Get ready for a new perspective on the world of law enforcement and social media. Brought to you by PSMA, the experts in public safety social media strategies. And now, welcome to Cop Talk with Chase and Joe.
Hello. Welcome to PSMA's Cop Talk. I'm Joe, and I'm here with Chase.
And we're live for the first time.
We are live.
We're not live. We're recorded.
Right. This is our debut podcast. So let's talk a little bit about what PSMA is and what we do.
All right. So the Police Social Media Academy is essentially a 2-day class for public safety. So police, fire, EMS, 911, kind of our bread and butter. But we talk community engagement and essentially protecting your agency from making any mishaps in the social media world. And
also how to engage your community through social media. Yeah, how to better interact with your citizens and the people you serve. So that's what we do. And one of the reasons we started this was Chase and I went to a class, and I guess we could say we weren't too impressed with it.
It was not very good. No.
No.
If you're going to have a social media class, you should probably talk about social media. And that was kind of our takeaway was, we learned some decent, I guess, tactics as far as a PIO goes, or maybe dealing with the media, but not a lot that was very relevant to the social media world.
Right.
So that's where we really thought, I think we could do this a little bit better. And so we jumped out there, and we've had wild success so far with the classes, just growing a company. But again, the idea is you've got to get on social media and you've got to be social,
right?
And that's what scares a lot of people is, I want to get on there and I want to post the roads that are closed, or I want to give a safety tip, or, there's this armed robber loose in the 1800 block of whatever. But I don't want to get on there and respond to people. I don't want to show them anything that's like human about the job. And so that's where we kind of come in 2 days, and we try to sell you on the idea that if you're going to go out there and be social, this will be a lot more fun and you're going to be way more successful.
Right. I think that's the important thing too, is that people need to realize that it's about engagement on social media. It's about interacting with the public. It's a two-way street. It's not just you're not just a megaphone out there just broadcasting, saying, hey, look at, we want you to know this. You can give information out, but you also have to interact with the public.
Social media is so foreign to so many people. I think that's what slows them down. But you're right on that. It's like if your neighbor walked over every day and left a letter on your door, and said, "Hey, hope you're doing well."
Exactly.
And you just ignored that letter every day. Eventually, they're going to go to a different neighbor, or they're going to quit writing you letters. And so, when you have that fan base of people that are commenting on your post or saying, "Hey, your police department's awesome. We support you," blah blah blah. You got to react to them. You can't just ignore it. You've got to comment back and go, "Hey, we appreciate the support," or "Thanks for being a part of this community," whatever, to make them feel that little bit of, "Hey, this department cares."
Exactly right. And whether it's a law enforcement agency or a fire department, EMS, emergency management, whatever it is, there's a lot of benefits in having an active social media presence because. Of course, you can notify people about things that are going on, but it's also good to get feedback from the public. And I think that's all very important in today's world because the mainstream media doesn't give a lot of positive press, especially the law enforcement agencies. So, you can be your own broadcast company, basically.
Absolutely. And, all of us, all public safety, we're an extension of the government. You know? And so we're easily disliked by the people in the community.
Right.
So this social media gives you the chance to say, hey, these are the good things we're doing. This is us. We're responding to your complaints. We're responding to your feedback. We care. We're part of the community and not just waiting for them to find something to be mad about and then, trying to fix it. You're establishing who you are long term and making it available to the community. And then if something bad does happen, which likely it will at some point.
Right.
You've got this history with the community that you're not trying to play catch up.
That's exactly right because usually the coverage in the news media is negative when it comes to
absolutely
almost any public safety. It's either a tragic event or it's some other negative kind of coverage, and there's a lot of positive that goes on. Law enforcement agencies, fire departments, they do things. Toys for Tots, or that sort of a program for to give Christmas to kids who may not have a Christmas otherwise. These are the kind of things that they do on a regular basis, and that doesn't get a lot of coverage. So
Yeah, I mean, the police department, it's easy to dislike the police department because we do a lot of things. We arrest people. We take, we freeze people's constitutional rights, essentially, in some circumstances. We're serving warrants and we're doing these things that, people just, you're not going to like that. And so you understand that. And everybody knows, somebody that's been arrested that's a friend or a family member. So it's easy to go, man, I don't like the cops.
Right.
So we're always fighting that battle. But, the fire departments and EMS and 911, they're extensions of the government also.
Yep.
So people a lot of times, they're going to gripe about the money you're spending.
Sure.
They're looking at you and they're associating you directly with their taxes.
That's right.
So to get out there and get the fan base, I think is one of the biggest parts of this.
Well, you can communicate, like I said, directly with the public. You can write your own story, write your own narrative, and people can see the good that you do on a regular basis that otherwise they wouldn't see. So anyway, that's in general what we talk about in class. We teach the tactics, techniques, ways to do that. So,
and the flip side of that's equally important that we sometimes breeze past is jumping out there and not really knowing what you're doing comes with some risk, and some danger. So we spend a lot of time on talking about how to do it the correct way, how to do it the legal way. And we also add in some things you should be teaching your officers on your agency. Right. Whether you're a 2-man department or a 7,000-man department, you want to be training your officers on how to use social media responsibly, on their individual pages. And then obviously you want the managers within your agency to be utilizing the agency page in a fashion that's not going to get you in trouble. Right,
and that's exactly right. And how often have you seen, even recently in the news, of people that have made comments on social media, even years ago, they're being brought up. And
we're seeing people that are getting terminated over posts they made in high school.
Exactly.
I mean, how terrifying is that to think, 20 years ago, were you responsible? Were you thinking about the ramifications of a post on social media?
That's right.
And a lot of people back in that time, Facebook was new.
Right.
And so, 2003, 2004, I don't think people realized how big of a part it was going to be in our life, in today's day.
Well, the whole media culture is changing. I mean, we're moving away from broadcast mainstream media to this sort of microcasting, very compartmentalized media where people will go and find whatever news that they're looking for through social media because it's available there.
Stats on the number of people that say they get their news first from Facebook or one of the big platforms, social media, it's scary.
It's huge.
But there's no depending on what source are they getting their news from on those platforms. There's no way to make sure they're getting the correct news.
Yes, so that's true.
That's a big part.
That's
of it.
True. Fake news. We don't want fake news.
Yeah, we don't want them to get that news and run with it. And they're just taking that as truth.
That's right. And that happens sometimes. That happens like when you have a critical incident. Sometimes people get on there and they think they know what's going on and they don't. And they start posting information about it. So that's why you should always defer to the agency that's in charge of the event of the incident if you're looking for information. So Facebook is important, Twitter, Instagram, those are probably the three big platforms I think that we
and I think that
mostly.
Next door, I think there's some potential there.
That's up and coming, I think.
I think that some of the areas are already using that pretty heavily.
It's almost like a virtual neighborhood watch in a way.
Yeah, and it gives you that chance to really target certain areas. If you want to talk to just a specific area, a neighborhood, about car break-ins, or issues going on. I had a conversation the other day with one of the leads from next door, and I mean, some of the points he made, they make a lot of sense. That reach that you can get with that platform versus Facebook, where you can't make that announcement just to a neighborhood unless you're in a neighborhood group, a closed group or something like that.
Exactly right. And maybe that's a good thing because it seems that more and more people become isolated as they get into social media, but now this sort of brings the neighborhood into it. So maybe you get to know your neighbors through this new up and coming next door platform that may be a good thing for neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
So
and you're building those relationships.
Right.
So with that,
very important. Very important. Well, we have a few classes coming up here. We have one coming up here in Muncie fairly soon because we're located in Muncie, but we travel all over the place. Where else are we going, Chase?
So we will be in March. So actually next week, I don't know when this might be edited, but March 20th, 21st, we'll be in Louisville, Kentucky. Muncie, Indiana, April 11th and 12th. Rushville, Indiana, the 15th and 16th. And then in May, we're in a couple of different spots in California. So that'll be a big trip for us.
Yep.
And I think I skipped over Westchester, Pennsylvania. That's
we got
later
that.
in March.
We have that in between, I think, and we're looking also at. Did I see Valhalla, New York?
We're
somewhere in there.
We're in New York. We're in South Carolina.
Yep.
Horry County Sheriff's Office will have us in South Carolina. We're adding classes quick. So if you want to stay up on, if we're coming near your area, the website is updated daily with new classes. So,
and where can they find that information?
That is www.psmatraining.com. That was my best attempt at a radio voice. I don't think I've found it yet.
No, you did fine. You did fine. What about the other things we want to do with this podcast too? Since this is our inaugural podcast here, our very first one. When we get into this a little bit more, we won't be talking about so much what we do, but tips and techniques and things about social media. But one of the things we want to do is, if anybody's listening and they want to have questions answered or they have an idea for a topic, we want you to contact us.
Yes,
engage with us directly, and there's a couple ways you can do that. One, our Facebook at PSMA Training on Facebook. You can direct message us there, or you can email Chase.
You can email me, which is cwinkle@psmatraining.com. We're also on Twitter and fairly active, so you can always tweet us if you have a question or you have something you want us to talk about. One of the things we're going to do with this show is, one, we want to jump into some topics that are relevant, and some topics that are maybe like somebody losing their job over Facebook. It's never fun to talk about somebody in our field losing their job.
Right.
We don't want to bash people. We get it. But at the same time, we've got to talk about those things to protect future people. So we're going to pick some topics that might be a little heated, that we might have. Joe and I might disagree. It happens sometimes.
Happens.
So
not too often, but it happens.
You might get to hear that. And then the other thing is, we definitely want to bring in some guests from around the country that are doing social media really well, or trying different techniques that are a little bit different, a little bit outside the box, to give you guys some different perspective.
Right. Social media and public relations, because public relations and PIO activity, they kind of go hand in hand, especially one of the great tools that I found as a working as a public information officer was Twitter. Twitter is very useful to get the message out to local news media, to keep them updated. Also, it's probably the best place if your agency is interested. If you're an emergency management agency or a law enforcement agency and you want to give road conditions or things like that, Twitter's the best platform for that, not Facebook. Because Facebook, the big thing about Facebook is Facebook has an algorithm. And if you don't work that algorithm, if you don't keep that algorithm basically running high, then people won't see your feeds. And updates like that generally don't what am I trying to say here?
Don't perform.
They don't
really
perform well.
Yeah.
No, they don't perform well. They don't get the clicks or the engagement.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that one of the things with Facebook is Facebook has a lot of control on what people see and what they don't see.
Right.
Talking about those algorithms or whatever it is that stops that.
Right.
And I think that they control some public safety stuff. I don't think that they're always real pro police. Now maybe that's just me being worrying too much, but I think that that's part of it. I don't think that police posts always do really well. And I think the other part that we're not getting that organic reach like we used to, because they're considering public safety agencies a business page.
Right.
That's essentially what we are.
That's right.
Just like the Police Social Media Academy page, they want us to pay if they want people to see it, or we want people to see it.
Right. You got to pay for the ad space. And
a lot of public safety agencies, you don't have a budget to promote those posts.
And the reality is, from the advertising standpoint, anybody will tell you that does social media marketing, that Facebook is the biggest bang for your buck. When you're going to get the most reach, and you're going to hit your target audience the best through Facebook.
The most adults are on Facebook.
Right.
I mean, that number's not changed. People talk, Facebook's going away, or Twitter. You got to get, and some of those platforms you do need to hop on if you want to reach younger people.
Right.
But the 25 plus, they're on Facebook.
Yes, they are,
and that has not changed. It's not the numbers that are dropping. They say, there's these crazy numbers. They're minimal.
They are.
So until that really starts to slide,
that's right,
Facebook is going to be your big push.
That's
and
right.
You should be on all these other platforms. You should be across, Facebook shut down the other day and everybody lost their mind. So if you had an important message that you couldn't get out on Facebook, you'd want to be able to get it out elsewhere.
Yeah, right.
But I do think that Facebook is king, and I say that in every training, and it's going to be king until it's not.
That's right. Yeah. And it is, and it's going to continue to be that way, I believe. I think it's only going to grow, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Facebook is, I would argue, and I don't know this for sure, but I would say that most people, when they wake up in the morning, Facebook's one of their first stops. They might check their text messages first, but their Facebook mobile app is one of the first things they do in the morning. Probably arguably, unless they're running late like I am most mornings, probably before they even get out of bed.
Yep. I know that's the way I am.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's most people.
Yeah, my email. I check my email and I'll look at Facebook and see what's up there. Because honestly, you talk about getting the news. A lot of times I see breaking news on there because I monitor news outlets. And when I scroll through there, I'll see overnight what's happened. Just from the reporting from the news outlets that I follow on Facebook. So
and being the manager of my local PD, the Facebook page, I'm finding out what we did the night before on Facebook a lot of times before I get my department email. And we get email updates of everything that happens every shift, but I can typically tell if something big happened based on whether the department's tagged in, hateful comments or, we arrested this person or we did that.
Right,
so, I mean, it's probably the Facebook mobile app is probably the last app I'm in before I fall asleep and the first app I open in the morning.
Yep.
And I don't think that I'm a unique person in that sense. I think that's most Americans.
Yeah, you're not an outlier there.
I think that most Americans, that's what they're doing. And I read the other day that, the Facebook app was like the number 1 or number 2. Messenger was number 1 or number 2. I mean, they're still the biggest apps on smartphones.
Right.
So people are accessing it from their phones. They're getting on there on their laptops.
Absolutely. So, yeah, it's important, and that's why we think it's important to bring this to law enforcement agencies because there's so many agencies, law enforcement and public safety, that don't utilize it.
Absolutely.
And I think they don't utilize it either because they don't realize the value or they're afraid. Yeah. I think those are the two main reasons that stop them from using
I think that
potential
fear is probably the biggest part. Is we don't know what we're doing, so we're going to post things and nobody's going to read them, or we don't know, or that fear of God, we've never done it this way before.
Exactly.
And so you look at community policing as a whole, and I don't want to go too far down a rabbit hole, but you look at community policing.
Right.
The shift that has changed since we've gotten police cars.
Yeah.
Because we're in our cars. Our cars are dark tinted windows. We're cruising the neighborhood looking for crime. We're going call to call, whatever it is. We're not out of the cars having these community engagement in person that we used to have.
Exactly.
So we've got to do it somewhere.
Exactly.
And if budgets are cut and manpower is low or whatever the reason is, somebody's got to run that Facebook and do it correctly because from a computer chair, they can still reach your entire community through social media.
Absolutely.
One person.
Right. And I remember back years ago when I moved to Indiana, in the Muncie area here, they had what they called cop shops. Yeah. And they were sort of these substations.
They still are standing. They're just covered in weeds.
Right. They were these substations in the various neighborhoods around the community that would be staffed by a law enforcement officer for different hours of the day, different shifts, mostly daytime and evenings, I believe. But the thing is that is a drain on your resources. If you have to commit an officer to sit at a substation, basically to just sort of feel talk to the community and everything, that takes up manpower and overtime and resources. The beautiful thing about social media is it's become the virtual cop shop.
Absolutely. So the cop shop, the big thing with that was the open door policy.
Right.
You could walk across the street or find this shop near your neighborhood, walk in there, and you could hand a complaint out. Hey. The drug house down the street's been busy, or my car's been broken into 3 times, whatever it is.
Right.
And you got to talk to an actual officer.
Right.
And hopefully that officer was able to fix your issue. Mm-hmm. It's the inbox of your department page now.
Right.
Is the transition there.
It is.
You can send that message to the department page. But what happens a lot of times, like I don't manage the Facebook full time. PIO is not my full-time job. I'm on the street. I'm working shifts.
Right.
So when I have my long week at work where I'm working 50 hours plus on the street, do I want to respond to every one of those messages?
No, you can.
In a timely manner, especially? No, I don't. No. And so that's where the problem is some of this has to be a buy-in from the city, from the admin, from the sheriff, whatever it is, to say, hey, we need a person or people to be doing this full time so that we can do that community relations.
Right, that's right. And that's one of the big things right there. Like you said, it really requires full-time attention because even smaller departments, large departments have multiple people managing that.
Absolutely.
But smaller departments, you need at least one person who that is their main goals and objective in their job is to monitor and maintain that social media presence.
Yeah. So they're keeping the news in a timely manner.
Right.
So when a message needs to get out, they're getting it out there. They're responding to issues from the community in a timely manner. And then they're doing things out in the community, going to these neighborhood association meetings, going to meetings in general or events they're getting invited to. And then tying all that back into social media.
Exactly. Yep. So that's an important thing, and I think it's only going to grow as we keep moving forward. I think you're going to see more and more growth in social media across the board, And that's something that's going to become more vital to every agency out there.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're here.
Yeah, and the reality is the community still expects us to do our job and to enforce the law and protect their houses and their property and them. But they're expecting a lot more from us on the community engagement side.
Exactly.
They're expecting us to prove to them that we have their best interests and that we're human and all these things. So you've got to at some point in time go, yeah, we still got to patrol the neighborhoods and we got to do all these things, but somebody has to be out in the community,
right?
Engaging with them. It's not the community's responsibility to engage us; it's our responsibility to get out there and engage them.
That's right. And social media just provides that gateway.
Yeah, it's your cheapest form of doing this.
Absolutely. Well, what else would you like to let people know about, Chase? Anything that you can think of?
I'm sure I have lots of things. So if you, like Joe said earlier, if you think of someone that you know in your area that does it really well, or maybe somebody that's doing something unique, you can always email that to us. We will reach out to some folks to get them on here. We don't want this to be the Joe and Chase lecture by any means.
Right.
And we want to give a lot of differing viewpoints and, attempts at doing social media the correct way.
That's right. And that's why we welcome your input, like I said, either through our Facebook page or you can email Chase directly, cwinkle@psmatraining.com, CWINKLE at psmatraining.com.
It's a lot harder to spell when you have a microphone in front
of you.
It is being on the spelling bee.
Right. But definitely email us or go to PSMA Training at PSMA Training on Facebook. Find us there and send us a message.
And will we be putting some teasers out on social media as far as the topics to be discussed?
I think we will.
Shows?
I think we will. I mean, we're going to obviously we'll launch our very first podcast and let people know that we have a podcast now. And this will hopefully pick up steam as it goes. But we definitely have plans. I have a good friend of mine in Connecticut who's retired from a large agency that we're going to talk to him. He managed public relations out there for his department for a number of years before he retired. So he's got some good insights. We've got other people that we've met through our classes and
we'll
travels.
Have some good guests for sure. That's one thing I'm definitely confident in. We've got the people.
Absolutely.
It's just going to be a matter of scheduling them.
So we'll be scheduling those as we go, and this will be a weekly podcast.
And we'll keep our thumb on the news. So anything social media and public safety related that ties in, expect us to talk about and debate.
Absolutely, and even big issues that affect law enforcement or public safety in general. I mean, I think if it's important enough to lead the news, it's probably important enough for us to talk about it. So
absolutely.
So you can count on that too, and we hope to not be too controversial, but we're definitely going to probably hit some topics that people may get upset about, and that's okay.
Yeah, we'll leave that up to Joe. Joe will be the controversial.
I'll be Mr. Controversy.
I'll stay in the safe zone.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. But that's about it. I think for today. I hope you enjoyed listening to the podcast, and
we'll get better as we go.
Yes, we will.
If you
could
see this space, the microphone is terrifying. So at least for me, it's like being in front of a camera.
This is Chase's first time doing anything like this, so it's good. He's doing a great job, and we're looking forward to. He's going to do a selfie
Taking
here.
a selfie. Don't worry about
it. We'll be doing more of this. So please, definitely, follow us. Subscribe to the podcast. That's going to help us a lot. Share the podcast with your friends. We're going to have the post. We'll be posting it on social media, of course, but we'll be on iTunes and Stitcher and iHeartRadio, and there'll be a lot of different locations to listen to us. So share us with your friends and recommend us, and hopefully we'll grow the podcast as we go, and it'll get more popular, and definitely interact with us. Definitely get a hold of us, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right, we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening to Cop Talk. To learn more, visit our website at psmatraining.com.